Hey everyone, Ryan Lilly here with Old Town. I'm joined by three of some of my favorite tournament anglers out there. Also happen to be on Old Town's pro staff. I'm joined by Casey Reed out of Virginia, Wendy Biles out of Florida, and Duke Tran out of Texas. We wanted to put this little interview together with the team to share a little bit more information about tournament fishing. I know many of you might be new to kayak fishing and may not be aware of the options that you have to participate in the sport, such as competing in tournaments and getting involved in your local trails. So I wanted to get Casey, Wendy, and Duke together to just talk about kayak bass tournaments and ways that you could get involved if you're interested in dipping your big toe in competitive kayak fishing. So thanks for joining us. I've got Duke, who is a longtime North Texas Kayak Club and Texas Bass Nation tourney director in Texas. He also manages Mariner Sales, which is a retailer of Old Town in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've got Casey Reed, who's a longtime tournament angler who's competed all over the country in BASS, Hobie BOS, and the KBF Trail Series. And he just so happened to finish fourth place in the Hobie BOS Tournament of Champions up in South Carolina last weekend. Congratulations, Casey. And then we have Wendy Biles, who is a tournament angler based in Florida who competes in the local Florida Kayak Bass Trail as well as the Florida Bass Nation Trail down in the state of Florida. And she has also participated in a few of the national kayak fishing events along the way. So we have a lot of experience here, both on the local, regional, and national level, and would love to kind of get to the bottom of what it's like to be a competitive kayak angler and what it takes to join and be a part of it. So first question, anybody can take it. Would love to know if someone has never competed in a kayak fishing tournament, what should they expect?
Yeah, that's one thing I've had a lot of people come up and tell me, fishing for the first time, just and coming from the boat side, kayak fishermen are just so much more nicer, willing to share information and sharing their space. It's very, very good camaraderie, I guess. So
Awesome. Wendy.
I would say reach out to your local bass clubs, and social media is a great way to do that. When you first start these tournaments, it's wonderful to make the friendships first. I mean, winning a tournament is definitely a goal down the road, but really just embrace the experience of everything, making the friendships. The fellowship is amazing, and it really only goes up from there. So just reach out to your local bass club. There's probably one not far from you.
Yeah, and to touch on like what Duke was saying, that the kayak community has always been great. It's always been about helping and teaching each other. Even though we're competing against each other, it's helping people learn, helping new people learn how to fish these tournaments, how to catch bass, what you were doing that day when you really caught them. It's really about teaching.
Great. Now, this question, I think any of you can take, but what is for those that aren't familiar with how a kayak tournament is run or what the rules are? In layman's terms, could you explain what the typical kayak fishing tournament format is?
CPR, catch, photo, release.
So you simply get out on the water, catch a fish, take a photo of it, and submit it. What else?
Right. Very different from a bass boat tournament. A lot of people are familiar with the weigh-in type format. So with kayaks, it's all about the length. It's not about weight. You don't have a live well, so you use a tournament app on your phone. You have judges they're live on the app watching you catch your fish. You basically have a measuring board. You catch your fish, you put it on your board, you take the picture, and then you upload it to the app. It's very simple, a little bit of a science and kind of an art to it, but it's fun learning it. And once you get the hang of it, it just makes it much more fun, I think.
Yep, that's great. And from a conservation standpoint, those fish go right back into the water and there isn't so much stress and strain put on the fish being in the live well for 8 hours in the hot sun. So it's kind of great like that. Now, as a kayak angler coming in, never fished a tournament before, rather than a weigh-in, it's total length, right? So it's 5 fish, and your best 5 fish are what qualify for your points for that tournament, correct?
Right. Right.
And so what if I catch a bigger fish and I've already logged 5 fish?
So depending on the app that you're using, most apps will automatically cull. So you keep on fishing that way, you don't have to stress out. And it will automatically, drop your lowest scoring fish and to approve the higher scoring fish.
So even if you log 5 fish at 7 a.m., you have all day to improve that bag length.
Yep.
Got it. Now, once the tournament's over for the day, Casey, what happens when you get off the water?
So when the tournament's over, usually the leaderboard gets shut down, so you kind of don't know exactly where you're standing at. So you get off the water, you usually have a little bit of time to submit your fish. Depending on which tournament trail you're fishing, they usually give a 30-minute leeway to make sure you can get to service and submit your fish. But you have all your fish submitted, and then you start heading back to awards.
Gotcha. And from what are you looking at, like for a local or a regional or a national event? What are you looking at, for a top finish in terms of a reward?
For local events, it can be anywhere from $200 to $300 up to $700 to $1,000. It's all just depends on how many people enter the event, what the entry fee is for that event. When you move up to your kind of regional, national levels, I mean, you could be anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000.
Wow. So there's some serious money that you can make if you have a good day.
Yeah, you can definitely get some nice paychecks, and especially if you can stay consistent throughout the season, the amount you're getting paid really adds up.
Got it. And have you seen any three of you? Have you seen the level of winnings has it increased over time?
I think it increases as the clubs grow. Our entry fees are always based on how many people are in that tournament. But along with cashing a check, which is awesome, we have a guy on our club that does printing. So we have these amazing checks. The guys that run our club they have great relationships with sponsors. So we have like probably a half an hour of prizes and rods and reels, and it's really amazing to see how the kayak community has just exploded over the past, I don't even know, maybe 5 years. And the backing and the sponsorship. And like I said, some of these guys are just out of high school. They're fishing for their first time. They have no equipment. They're learning how to just barely use their kayak. And then it's so cool to see these random raffle drawings. I watched a kid that flipped his kayak at Toho, and he won a brand new rod and reel just by chance at the next tournament, which was like the perfect winner. And we all cheered him on. But yeah, so there's definitely an opportunity to get some nice gear and to cash some nice checks.
Got it. Now, question to any of you: how has kayak fishing in tournaments made you a better angler?
So for me, it's just traveling around, being on the water more than I probably would be if I wasn't fishing tournaments, and getting to experience different bodies of water at different times of the year, kind of just learning what the different fisheries are doing and learning new techniques for those fisheries. And it really comes down for me to time on the water. That's always huge, I think, for anybody. The more time you can spend out there, the more cash you can make, just the better you're going to be.
Yeah, definitely time on the water, but also, again, it's the relationships and how open the kayak community is to sharing. I can't tell you, at every awards, people will tell you what they caught their bait on, what the weather was like, what techniques they had to change to improve to be able to get that win. So just, talking and sharing and getting to know friends on the water, I've learned so much through my peers in this sport.
Yeah, I've learned to slow it down and be a little bit more precise with my my bait selection. I've learned bass fishing through kayaks. I did when I had my center console. When I just always striper fished and all that stuff, and it's a totally different game. But you do learn different techniques. It does make you a more versatile angler.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. I am a pretty dang good bass angler here in Maine, and I don't realize how I'm really not that great of a bass angler when I travel out of the state. And there's something to that, like learning different regions and what they're doing at different regions is just a lot to it. And tournament anglers, if you get out and travel, you're learning so much about bass behavior and how to break down a body of water in different places. And the tournament anglers that I've been able to fish with across the country are some of the best anglers just because they learn to read water no matter where they are, which is super cool.
Yep.
All right, next question. As someone that is coming into kayak fishing, you see some of these rigs and it can be intimidating because people invest a lot of money in their fishing kayaks and their equipment and all their electronics. But at a bare minimum, what does someone need if they want to just try it and they don't want to invest tens of dollars or thousands of dollars? Tens of thousands is a little ridiculous, but thousands of dollars into optimizing their kayak for just this specific purpose. What is a bare minimum that someone needs to fish a kayak tournament?
A basic kayak and some good gear. If you're fishing a tournament, I do recommend you invest it with some sort of propulsion. Foot pedals is probably the best way to go about it. With the 120 PDL, you can precisely maneuver your positioning. I found it's probably one of my favorite ways to micro maneuver to my spots and hold position. It's been fantastic. But I mean, I have guys on my trail that they don't even have a fish finder on their kayak. They haven't had any electronics for years, and they still place second, third place. So you don't have to have the best gadgets out there. That's that. I like having a simple fish finder. I like side imaging. I like water temperature, depth. But there's a lot to be said with higher end electronics though.
Yeah. Casey, Wendy, you have anything to add to that? Basic needs to fish a tournament?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously everybody's going to need a catch board, or some sort of measuring board, whatever your tournament allows. Most tournaments around the country allow the catch boards, and there's a few others, but a measuring board, your phone, obviously, pretty much everybody has for your camera, and then, I mean, there's a few other things that I think are necessities, but you don't necessarily have to have. They're just going to help you out throughout your tournament day, such as like a pair of lip grips or at least a net. Like maybe a rag to keep your phone lens clean for your camera. Mine gets smudged and blurry all the time, gets water on it. And when you're taking the pictures of the fish, you want them to be as clear as possible, because when they're getting judged, that's all the judge has to go on is that photo. So if it's really blurry and they can't see that your fish is touching that 20-inch line, you're not going to get scored for it. So making sure that your camera lens is as clean as possible is huge in my opinion.
Yep.
And also add that, the rules in my club state that the PFDs are mandatory. That's an automatic disqualification if you even take it off. And then the second thing I would recommend is having a light. A lot of times our tournaments will launch before safe light in the dark. And if I don't use a motor, so I just require the 360 light by law. But if you have a motor, then you need to have the navigational lights in the front as well, the red and green. So having a light stick, shout out to Yak Attack because they're a one-stop shop for all of those things.
Yeah, no, that's great. Really great tip. So what I'm hearing, a kayak, obviously, your fishing gear, a measuring board, a PFD, and lighting to be safe out there. That's like bare minimum. And from there, you can layer in electronics. You can layer in different accessories on your kayak to make your time better. Oh, and a phone. You need a phone too, but you don't really need to go hog wild. And so, I've heard a lot of people say start basic, and then as you interact with people and get more competitive, you can kind of tailor your experience. That's the beauty of kayak fishing, is you can really tailor your experience to suit your needs and your fishing style. So start basic, and then, you know, Christmas is coming. Then you can add stuff every year and optimize your setup. That's great. That's great. Some great tips there. You know, if I'm new to kayak fishing, where do I go to find, you know, local, regional, and national events?
So Wendy hit on it earlier. I think on Facebook, just giving a search for your state and kayak fishing, I think you're going to pull up at least one club, if not multiple clubs, around your area. And that's really the best way to get into it, in my opinion. I'm pretty sure every club that's out there probably has a Facebook page. You can get on there and start interacting with the members of the club, and kind of get to know how they run things, where the tournaments are, and you can kind of start to get your feet wet that way.
And you know, your local shop, you know, should have a lot of the contacts. You know, we also run a free weekly working man's tournament, which, you know, helps people really get into the groove of kayak fishing, getting to learn to use their kayak, and you know, and then coming back and buying accessories later on. So it's very, very convenient for everybody.
I
That's
think
great.
word out there that Fishing Chaos and Tourney X, if you log into those, that shows you every tournament that's either close to you or nationally. And then from that point, you can hone in if you want to do a bass tournament or a redfish tournament. The contact information will be there, because sometimes it's hard to know, even on Facebook, where do I find these people? Where do I find these tournaments? So those two apps are really a great starting point as a roadmap to know where you would like to make your next step.
That's great. Now, you know, it's so neat because you can start small and local, and really start to experiment whether this is something that you like or not. And, you know, if you do well, you get some walking around money, maybe, you know, earn some money to help pay for some of the accessories that you might want to add. And then you can even, as you get better, you know, you can compete in some of these national tournaments that have, you know, $25,000 first place prize, you know, winning. So it's like, it's really neat that you can kind of go in and start soft and easy and work your way up, you know, as it suits you. So there's a lot of opportunity nationally. I know here in Maine, we don't have a ton of people, not a lot of kayak anglers compared to Florida or Texas. However, we do have 3 or 4 clubs that run tournaments, whether they're online or in person, all summer. So there's all kinds of opportunity no matter where you live. If there's water, there's probably kayak tournaments in a community that you can get around. I think I want to end on this. Would love to hear from each of you. You could quickly share your most memorable kayak fishing tournament story or experience.
So I mean, we'll go back. I've had a lot of good tournaments over the past few years, but thinking back on it, I remember joining my first club, and that first year that I did it, I got Angler of the Year, and I don't think there was any monetary prizes or anything for that, and there was probably only 10 people I was fishing against during that season, but that was kind of what started it all for me, and it was an amazing experience. I met amazing people that we're still friends with today there, and that was a very memorable experience for me.
For me, I mean, of course, there's the stories where you catch your biggest fish, maybe your PB. That's always a great day. But really, what was memorable for me was we had 5 minutes left in the tournament, and I had 0 fish. So, of course, this really sticks out in my mind. The weather was terrible. The bugs were eating us alive. People were miserable, passing out. It was awful. We had 5 minutes left in the tournament. I was fishing close to the ramp, and pretty much everybody was headed back in. They were sick, over it. I'm just I cast until the very last second. So the tournament board had been turned off, and I caught the big bass and got the check and the award for big bass in the last 2 minutes of the tournament. Nobody even saw it coming, including myself. But yeah, I'll never forget that. I think I've taught everyone, don't give up. Always cast until the very last second, because anything can happen.
And stay hydrated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Duke, what about you?
Man, my most memorable moment was probably my first big event. I think I fished the KBF National Championship in Gunnersville one year. I think that was my first one. It was like a couple hundred people, and just the sheer volume of people there, and they were all, just so friendly, and just, you know, it was just a great experience. And I tell everybody that, get to fishing, grow your skills, travel, learn the lakes around the country. It makes it lets you appreciate, what we have here. So
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, I thank you so much for your time, the three of you. Thank you so much for what you do for our team and for sharing some experiences and encouraging people to give kayak tournaments a try. If you want to learn more about any of the tournaments listed, I mean, some of the major ones are BASS, Hobie BOS, KBF, and there are a bunch of regional and local events near you. You should do that Google search and try one this spring. And you can always reach out to us on social. We'd love to help you. And again, it's just a great way to get plugged into the greater community, to get better at fishing, and to hopefully win a little bit of money and have some fun. So thank you so much, and we'll see you out on the water.